All right. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. So everybody, has everybody visited the e-classroom just yet? Or maybe you haven't. All right, so I believe I have I've been able to get everybody in the classroom. So let me start to share some stuff. All right, you guys are seeing this? Now I can't see your hands anymore, so you'd have to indicate vocally if you're seeing my screen.
Yeah, seeing the screen clearly.
All right, good. I know some of you all might be on your telephones or your phones and stuff, so I believe you do have the feature of being able to zoom in and look at things on your own, right? So this is not your class. Your class is this one here. All right, everybody seeing this? All right, and this is where the link that we'll be using for the entire semester. This is where it's going to be, okay? Down here. So we'll be using the same team link all the time to join this class. You could get it here, or when we have the WhatsApp chat running, I can always send the link there, depending upon how things go. Now, how many of you all have downloaded the course schedule? This item here.
So I have.
Not as yet.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah,
So there are a couple of
okay.
things. There are a couple of things that you're going to have to download. You could download the course outline, but these two textbooks here, you're going to have to download them because they're the primary textbooks that we're using for this course. The personality tests and interpretation will come up later on. All right. So this is what it looks like when you download it. This is what you're going to be seeing here. Let's just move this here a bit. Make this a little larger. All right, so this course is a little different to what you might have been accustomed seeing or dealing with in the past, in that we have a number of things to do, starting off with the two textbooks that we're going to be utilizing for this course. Now, as I said before, these two textbooks you're going to have to download. They're going to look, let me get my text and I'll show you them. All right, so this is what one of the main texts that we're going to be utilizing. The leadership, exploring leadership. I don't know if this is so by Komais, Lucas, and Mohan. All right, we're going to be dealing with this textbook a great deal. Right, so for those of you who don't like reading, you can get some of these chapters on YouTube if you do a search for them, where they'll be read to you. This is the other textbook that you're going to be working with as well. The Richard Daft. For anybody who did management studies, you'd know that he's sort of like a guru when it comes to leadership and ethics. And I don't need you all to have the latest edition. I need you all to work with this one because I know where the chapters are in relation to this. So this is an older edition, but we don't need the new edition to deal with it. Let's close this here. All right. So everybody's seeing. All right. So the ones that are in the e-classroom are fine. You could work with these. We wouldn't have any sort of copyright issues with them as well. So let's go back to so how the classes run is that I am going to present unit 1 of the book, which is chapters 1 to 3. Now, in the e-classroom, I have actually already put up the 3 chapters here in a PowerPoint format that you all would need to go through on your own. All right, this one is done as a this one is done as a video. All right, so you can look at it and I kind of go through the thing with you. The others are not done this way. The others are done as just PowerPoints that you download and go through chapter 2 and chapter 3. Now they are fairly long, so it might take you more than one sitting to go through it. And the reason for this is because I try to be, these are not presentation, what's the word I want to use? They're not presentation styles. They are more detailed in nature so that the PowerPoints themselves are going to have a fair amount of detail. You're going to have a forced download for it. I actually should have this already. I shouldn't need to download it. Let's see, where do I have that? Or maybe I have it have it backed up on something else. So those presentations are, let's download this one and bring it up and you'd see what I'm talking about. They are fairly detailed in their in the way in which they are presented. All right, and I'll go through these with you, but it'll be a useful idea for you to be able to go through these things. This is chapter 2. Chapter 1 is by itself. It's already done in I think I have a presentation for that as well. So once I am completed dealing with chapter 1, which according to the schedule here, I'll be finished by the 11th of October, then you guys will begin to start presenting different chapters. And so you have chapter 4, 5, 6, 7, then chapter 6 from the DAF textbook has to come in here, then chapters 9, chapter 8 in this order. Then from the DAF, we'll start with chapter 13, chapter 12, and chapter 15 wraps up. The presentations that you're going to be engaging in, what you'll be doing is teaching everybody in the class what you've gathered from or the key issues that each of the chapters are presenting to you. So you'll be looking at that. So next week, for example, on the 27th, I'll be going through chapter 1 of the presentation with you, and we'll be looking at that together. The week after, we'll look at chapter 2, and then the last week on the 11th of October, we'll be dealing with chapter 3. And then from October 18th, we have 2 presentations per session. So basically what you're looking at is that for each presentation, we're looking at like 45 minutes or so, because these chapters tend to be more actionable, not as in-depth or as long as the first 3 chapters that you'd see, where it lays the foundation down for the leadership model that we're going to be looking at and the ethical value structures that we're going to be looking at for this course. So as you do these presentations, as I said, there are 10 presentations and everybody has to present the different chapters. We're going to be setting up small teams or little groups. So from my listing, I have 26 people in class. So that means how best to deal with you guys with that. So we can do 4 groups of 2 or 4 teams of 2 and 6 groups, 6 teams of 3. That makes sense? 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 26. How's that sounding? So presentation 1, 2, 3, and 4 will be teams of 2, and then from presentation 5 onwards will be teams of 3. And that way everybody from the class would be will have an opportunity to present. Now, as I said before, in terms of presentations, this counts towards 30% for your final project, your final marks. Okay, making sense so far? So your presentations are going to be 30%. Then you have a midterm exercise for 20%. You have a debate exercise for 15%. Then you have to write up a self-analysis and then an leadership and action plan for 35% total, but it's 20 by 15 for a grand total of 100%. You notice now the midterm exercise is not an exam. It is when we complete the work, because you'd see the dates for this is between the 20th to the 27th of November. That comes up after we've completed the presentation, the last presentation of the chapters. And there are a couple of questions that you're going to be responding to during this week. And you'd be uploading your response to it in the e-classroom. So you'd see here, you have a mid-semester submission point here, as well as where you have the other things. So your group presentation submission is actually going to be whatever PowerPoint tool that you've utilized that we'll be using for that to keep as evidence. Well, what I'll also do is I'll be recording your presentations so that you can I'll be putting it on so down here, for example, chapter presentations will start to load the videos here. So like today's videos I'll put up here under session recordings. So anybody who missed the earlier sessions, I'll put them here so that if somebody missed a class, this first class in particular, they can catch up on it and get what they missed. All right. Any questions so far on what's going on?
Sorry, you mentioned something about the dates to hand these in.
Well, the dates are on this document here.
Okay.
All right, so it's on your course outline. So what we need to do today, because normally I'll PDF this document. What I want to do today is I want you all to assign yourselves to different presentations. As I said before, presentations 1 to 4, there's a maximum of 2 people per presentation. And then from 5 to 10, we have 3 people per presentation. So now it's either I choose the groups or you choose the groups. Now, which would you prefer?
So, would it be possible that I could choose my group?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
I demand to choose my group.
You demand to choose your group.
Yes.
All right.
Respectfully.
Ali, your hand is up. What's the problem?
Oh, that was me who was speaking just now.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so
Excuse, I don't have a problem that you are assigning me to a group. I don't know anyone in this class, so it won't make a difference.
well, so, no, it does make a difference because then you'll get to know some different people. Because you're the only criminal justice student here, right?
Yeah, so you can assign me.
I'm not assigning anybody. You all need to work with each other now and start to make some choices. So what I'm going to do is you have to think about it. What chapters am I talking about? So chapter 4 has to do with understanding self. Chapter 5 has to do with understanding others. Chapter 6 is about integrity and moral purpose. So this has a lot to do with ethical values. Chapter 7 is about groups and teams, something that we have to deal with. Then we come back in presentation 5 and we deal with chapter 6 from the DAFT, which is going to also be about courage and moral leadership. So that's going to deal with ethical values as well. So you'd see there are 2 chapters on that particular set of information. Then we are dealing with being in communities, then complex organizations, then vision and strategic direction, power and influence, the sources of power and how people use it. And then lastly, we're going to be looking at how do you go about leading change. Now, remember, this is about taking examples from things. So the idea is what I'd prefer is that you guys, kind of suggest which, see some hands up. Jamie Lee.
Hi, sir. I already have a group and chose a topic.
You did you?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Who did you choose?
Well, my partner would be Jameer Daniel.
Uh-huh.
And we chose understanding others.
Understanding others. That's presentation 2.
Yeah.
It's all about getting into people's heads, making them feel insecure and all that.
No, it's not.
I mean, no, I'm
gonna see a lot of fun with you guys. So who was that, by the way? Who was talking about? That was
Jamie Lee Ramsahai.
Right. So I don't know you guys well enough yet to
Listen, don't worry about that. You can trust me.
No, I don't. I don't know you from Adam. I don't trust in anybody.
Listen, listen, I know we never met in person before, or you can't even see my face, but trust me, I'm a trustworthy guy.
We'll see. Okay. So just like that, we have one group already created, and they've assigned themselves, or they've asked to be assigned to a chapter 2, understanding others. I'm hoping you guys can see this. Now I have to have this list up here so that I could grab your names, so I don't have to be typing everything over all the time. Anybody else seeing chapters?
Sir, me and Camille Turkana to do chapter 6, presentation 3.
Presentation 3. Let's call it presentation. Who's me though?
Elijah Ed. Sorry, sir.
Elijah Ed. Okay, so copy that. Chapter 6. And who are you doing it with, Elijah?
Camille Turkana, sir.
Right.
Hi, sir. Can I suggest chapter 4, understanding self? I'm not sure if anyone else is interested in doing that topic.
Who's this, by the way?
Nikan Charles.
All right, you wanted somebody to work with you. All right, fine. So you would like
so
to.
I don't mind working with him.
Hi.
Okay. Hold on a second. The first person that asked me to be with Nakeem, who was that?
Nayasha. Pitilal.
All right. See, Mr. Charles, people fighting to present with you here now.
No, sir. I found the topic was interested. I don't know about the other part.
All right.
Hi. Hi, sir.
All right. I see some hands up. Aliyah Ali.
Yeah. I would like to do chapter 6, courage and moral leadership with Prashant.
Copy. Chapter
6, which is presentation 5.
All right. So this is the first grouping that needs 3 people.
Well, actually, it was supposed to be 2. So I don't know if
it was supposed to be what?
Well, it was supposed to be 2 of us, so me and Prashant. So
the only one that has 2 is chapter presentation 4, not chapter 6.
Could we go with that instead?
Yeah, I suppose you could. You and the man who's not here?
Prashant, yeah.
You're going to be working with Prashant, Mr. Unreliable?
Well, I worked with him in econ already with you, so I and I've had experience with him. So
You have experience with them. What you gonna do? Beat him?
no,
Well, you have
mine
to make
was
sure
not bad.
he
Chapter
stays on
six.
top of things.
Well, I worked with him in like macro and microeconomics with you. With
Yes, I know.
yeah, so I know he's reliable sometimes.
Remember, we're recording this, right? And he's gonna hear
No,
about this.
that's okay. If he kills me, it's fine.
All right. If he kills you, it's fine.
Yeah,
Listen to what you said, huh? If he kills you, it's fine.
yes.
That doesn't sound right. All right, Aaliyah, thanks. Renard?
Tiffany and I would, well, we have an open space since there's only three persons per group now. But Tiffany
Right.
and I would take chapter 6 with another person,
All right, so Renard, I need your surname.
Hassan Ali.
Hassan Ali.
I say I don't mind working with them.
All right, so hold on, so Hassan Ali, and who's the other person that you wanted, Hassan Ali?
Tiffany Romani.
Tiffany Romani.
Yeah.
And I hear somebody was volunteering.
Karishma Bejan.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right. I take it that all of you all are radiology people.
Excuse me, sir?
All of you all are radiology people.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. So Aaliyah and Renard, you need to put your hands down so I can talk to Jada.
Hi, sir. Can you scroll down? Are there other options?
Yeah, there are other chapters. There are 10 presentations altogether.
I want to be in Power One Influence with someone else. Yeah.
With somebody else. You need two somebody elses.
I don't know anyone.
I love to
So
support.
I would like
I want to
to
be with you.
jump into that group, Leah James.
All right, so hold on. Let me put Jada here first. Leah James, you want to jump in with her too?
Yeah.
All right, copy. Somebody else was saying they wanted to be there.
Natalia Noel.
Noel? It's not Natalia or
Yeah, it's Natalia.
okay. Right. So, all right, I like how this is going. All right, anybody else is look? Go ahead.
I'd like to try chapter 9, being in communities.
All right. So who's speaking?
Terry Singh.
Terry Singh. Very good. You have anybody that wants to jump in with you?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Me too, sir.
No. You can jump in if you want. I don't really know enough people as yet. So if you want to jump in,
Me
jump
too.
in.
Okay. Natasha Tofa Buduram.
All right. You want to jump in with her on communities, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Somebody else was saying something in the background.
Mr. Reed.
Reed?
Yeah.
Okay. That's Jamal Reed, right?
Yeah.
All right. Good. Okay. All right.
Hi,
So
hi, sir.
yes. Hello.
Yes, I would like to do presentation 10, lead and change.
So who's I?
Althea Rodney.
Rodney. Okay. You didn't change, so you want to close off the show. All right.
Yes,
You have
sir.
anybody that you know?
So I want to do that as well.
Who's that?
Latoya.
Latoya Thomas. Okay. All right. You need one other person to volunteer there. Anybody?
I'd like to do it too.
Who's that?
Sparkle Daulat.
Daulat, Sparkle. All right. And Dickie, I'm seeing your hand up. Anything you wanted?
So you can scroll back up, please.
Hi, sir. Ariel speaking. Anuradha and Adinike would like to do chapter 8, please.
Anuradha and?
Adinike and Ariel.
All right, so that's you. Sorry. So let me get one Lal Singh first. Lal Singh first. What chapter you all want to do?
Chapter 8, sir.
Complex organizations.
Yes.
This one here?
Yeah.
So it's you, who again?
Anuradha Lalchan.
Anuradha Lalchan. And Andiki.
Yes, sir.
Greg. All right. I take it they use the chat group to communicate.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. So we have one, two. So we have one, and oh, we just have one chapter left to cover. Who hasn't yet? Reese. I didn't see her anywhere yet. Is Danny Ram here? I have to make sure everybody. So is there anybody here yet who has not yet been assigned? All right, so the ones I'm not seeing assigned will obviously be Stoddard Chelsea. Let me put her there to start with. This boy was here earlier, but he doesn't seem to be here anymore. Reese. All right. I know. Oh, Ms. Lam Young. Hello. She was here earlier. So that should be it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 26. That should be it. I hope I got everybody. Since Stoddard yet. Reese doesn't seem to be here, but I know he was here earlier. Didn't Reese introduce himself to the class, guys? I think I remember him speaking earlier. All right. Okay, so I guess you all understand this element of what's going on here. Let's go through the other assignments so that you start to understand. So what you're doing is, as I said, chapter presentations. So this is what it looks like. These are the chapter presentations. Small groups will be required to present on various chapters from the main textbooks. And now you've selected. You'll be assessed on your content coverage, the use of the examples in your explanations, how clear those explanations are, making some appropriate recommendations to the class about what they should do to proceed, and also using a conclusion. So generally, when you start a presentation, you start with an introduction and you state what you're going to do and what this presentation is about in general forms. Then you start going through the entire content, and at the end, you kind of conclude. So the other part, so 60% of your marks is on the content that you're delivering. 25% is going to be based upon style of delivery in terms of, how well you all were able to balance between reading and discussing things, as opposed to, just getting caught up with doing in one. The quality and degree of class interaction, so that's based upon how well you were able to interact with the class and how the class kind of responded to your prompting to get involved and so on. Now, that means when people ask questions, you just can't stay mute, because as you see here, part of the marks is also for quality of interaction. So it's asking for the classes, for people in the class to contribute when questions are being asked, and to make comments when required. And of course, we're going to be looking at the nature of your presentation aids that you're going to be utilizing. So that is going to be primarily your PowerPoint presentation that you're going to develop with the images and the way in which you design your presentation. Now, as I said before, your presentations are for presentation purpose. So therefore, we shouldn't see a lot of words on it, because as opposed to my presentations, which are standalones, they're meant to stand alone. They're not meant for a class presentation. You'd see it when I start to use them. Yours will be slightly different because you could actually just kind of caption stuff more than have to put all the stuff there on the slide. And of course, we're looking at time management. So what I'm looking for is the efficient use of time. I'm allocating between now for some presentations, it will take longer than others. Some presentations will be short because the chapter is relatively short, or the content in it is not too overwhelming. So I'm looking at presentations between 30 minutes to an hour and a half. Some chapters will be long, some chapters will be short. So the range is going to be between 30 minutes to an hour and a half. That sounds about right. And we're having 2 presentations per session. So that means you're using an hour and a half across the board. So we'll be looking at that in terms of your time management. And the last area I'm looking for is citation. So generally, I believe most of you all should be familiar with APA or MLA forms of citation, correct?
Yes, sir. APA.
APA?
Yes, sir.
All right. The radiology people, you all don't use MLA?
No, we use APA.
All right, okay. So it means that while you're doing a presentation, there are 2 forms of citation I'm looking out for. On the page itself, or the slides yourself, especially if you're using images and videos and stuff like that, you can use in-text citation there. I'm also looking to see if you've created a citation pages down to the end of your presentation where you do a citation list. And while presenting, you can actually refer to the sources as well. So I guess you all would know about that in terms of when you're writing things up. You'd normally write something, say, according to so-and-so, or according to this author or this author. So in your use of language, you can actually start to cite your sources there as well. So I'm looking out for that, and I'll be assigning some marks for that as well. Okay, so overall, you're marked out of 100%, of which 60 is for content, 25 is for the quality of your presentation, and 15% is going to be for having appropriate citation usage. Okay, now overall, the chapter presentation counts for 30%. Now, the way it's going to be done, you all will do your presentations, and I will mark the presentations while you are presenting. So it means that on that day, I will give the group presentation privileges on things, because I think right now, if I look at things, I can go to the side, and I think you're supposed to be able to present right now. You should be able to take control of the share button and stuff like that, given the status that you're in. So you should be able to grab a hold of the screen and take charge of the whole thingamajiggy. All right, and present. So you all will be taking charge of the class. I will just run the recording session, and I'll record your presentations during that period. All right. The second item that we have that comes up is your midterm exercise. So the midterm.
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask before we continue. The I see something called appropriate recommendations for the group presentation. I'm not sure if you ran through that just now, but what exactly does that entail?
So based upon what you present to the class, the different chapters that you're going to go through, there would be, when you've gone through the material, what would you recommend for your class members to do to develop the skill or the concepts or the ideas that are being presented in the chapter that you're presenting? That's what I'm looking for. If you've made appropriate recommendations from the material, because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're teaching the class. So I would say they should read the chapter themselves, but there's a great likelihood that nobody's going to read the chapter. They're just going to depend upon you presenting the chapter. So the methodology I want you to take is to look at this as a teaching opportunity. So you all will be teaching the class these particular chapters. That making sense? So generally, when you're teaching, you tend to come up with recommendations after the fact. So you'd recommend that, okay, when you're finished with this, to take these skills forward, I recommend that you do X, Y, Z, that kind of stuff. You know, put these things into practice. That makes sense? That answers your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Anybody else has any questions on what they're looking at here for the presentations themselves?
So will we be
yes,
required to put on our cameras?
No. There's a simple reason for that, and it's because I can't guarantee that your circumstances will allow for it evenly across the board. All right. So therefore, I don't want to disadvantage any one person over another.
Thank you.
That makes sense. All right. So some people might be, but and I'm going to leave it. It's up to you. If you want to turn on your camera, feel free. But if you're not comfortable with turning on your camera, then don't do it. All right. I don't know your personal circumstances. That's so. I'm not going to force people to do it, but if you want to, it helps to give focus. All right. Somebody else wanted to ask a question.
Yes, sir. I have a question, Terry.
Terry, go ahead.
So regarding citations, the use of citations, considering the presentations that we're doing are based off of the chapters, we're allowed to use the chapters as citations?
Yes, you can quote from the text itself. In fact, you have no choice but to, because you're teaching the text. But sometimes in order to support some of the ideas, you might download images or supporting data from other places. So you might find short videos that might help you to clarify or help explain certain things. That's what I mean. So all of the resources that you tend to use to help teach these things to the class, you'd need to cite all your sources of data and information for that. That makes sense? And this clarifies it a little bit?
Yeah, it does. And of course, we can use like other citations outside of the book and stuff.
Of course, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
you can bring in information as long as it's relevant and it ties into what the text is going to say.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody else? Right. Okay, so the next item that comes up there is your mid-semester exercise. And it's simply, I think it's 3 or 4 questions that you're going to respond as an individual assignment. Now, the questions are already prepared, but the questions are based upon content from the course itself. So that's why the time frame is set up after all the presentations have been completed, because the content has to be covered before, you could go about asking the questions about, in terms of that midterm exercise. I'm going to give you all a week to try and do it. That way you can submit it. Once I open or set it up, because it's in the e-classroom, you'd see here. When you click on this, the assignment will be, I'll put the assignment here for you all to download the assignment and utilize it from there. Okay. So you'll be able to pull up the questions and you'll do it like a little assignment page. So you do like a title page and you answer your questions accordingly. All right, so I have here, this is updated. It's actually not 4, but 3 compulsory short questions. Right. There's 3 questions and then numerous parts, so I'd have to update this here. Let's see that this is 3. All right. Let's hope that is true. All right. Any questions on this? I guess it'll come up a little more, be more mindful when we get to it. The debates I'll come back to because that's the last item for the semester. All right. Assignment 4 is a self-analysis. So the self-analysis is, you could probably start this after we look at chapters, presentations from presentation 1 and 2. But what you're looking at is a bit of an autobiography of yourself. And we're not necessarily just looking at the chronology of your life, but a more for you to sit and analyze who you are and why you are the person you are. So for example, well, I'll get accustomed to the names. You know, why are you that type of individual? Is a lot of it has to do with some things in your family history. So we have these questions here that will allow you to go through the development of your self-analysis. What is your family history? What are your family traditions and customs? How do you think these factors have influenced your life and your perception of leadership? So now this is where it starts to take your experiences and sort of focus it now on, well, how have these things impacted upon my ideology or ideas about what is leadership? When, if any, did you realize you had your own leadership potential? Who and what experiences have influenced your values in life? And how have mentors and critical incidences in your life transformed you? So there's a little distinction between the two. This is where you're looking at things that may have happened in your life or people that have been influential in your life in terms of who have been the people to influence your values and philosophies, and have there been any critical issues that have happened to you that caused change in your life? So there's a slight difference between the two, between 5 and 6 there, because for a long part of your life, you may have particular value systems or particular way of looking at things. And then something happens along the way. Either something happens or somebody turns up in your life and they make significant or cause significant changes in your life. So you're going to be writing about those things in a manner to be able to try and analyze why you are the person you are today. Now, the way it's marked is each question that you've been asked carries a sort of like a nominal mark system in it. In terms of what I'm looking here for is for completeness of your response. So in terms of an introduction, your introduction could be, basically who you are, where you're from, what you do with yourself, that kind of stuff, basic introductions. And of course, the conclusion would be kind of rounding up what you're looking for. So I'm going to be looking at the design structure in your writings. Then I'm going to be assigning marks here for use of language. So we're looking at, proper word, spelling, grammar, punctuation, sentence construction, and so on. You can be creative in the way in which you put this little book together, so to speak. I'm going to be looking at your font double line spacing because I want you to use a font that I can clearly read. So you're looking for a font style, font type that is fairly clear. Double line spacing, you all are familiar with that, what that means, right? That's this area up here. You're using 2.2. All right, that is simply for me to be able to read properly. having a title page, page numbers, and a contents page if necessary. Now, the question will be, how would you know if you need a table of contents? Anybody?
So the length and the complexity.
It's
But
more
it's supposed to be brief though. So it's kind of like a question mark.
No, it's more the length. What do you mean brief?
Things said that's supposed to be brief.
But brief is relative, you know.
No, not really. Brief is brief.
No. All right, so suppose I remove the word brief there.
Now it's not brief.
Can remove all of this. You know why? The reason for it is that I actually find that it's important for people to delve in this form of reflective analysis of themselves, because how often have any of you all ever done this? Now, I know one question that comes up there is, should there be a word limit? And there is no word limit for this. Because some people's lives, depending upon how old you are and how much you've done with yourself, can write a multitude. And other people who may not have experienced, they're much younger and they haven't experienced as much, may find it a serious challenge to write up about this. So those are things that tend to influence the nature of your writing. That makes sense? So a content page will be necessary if you exceed 4 pages. Let's just start with that. All right. All right, any questions on this? Because this piece of analysis that you're writing up here will count towards 20% of your final grade. Any questions for clarification here?
Oh, will we be required to present this?
No, you're not presenting it. You're actually submitting it.
Okay, cool.
All right, so again here, you'd see that you'd have to upload self-analysis. The same things are here. All right, you'll submit it here and I will download them and grade them. All right. It's highly unlikely that you're going to need to do citation for this because you're writing about yourself. But if you do quote sources of different materials and that kind of stuff, then you'd obviously need to do citation. But the vast majority of people, when you're doing a self-analysis, you're writing about yourself in essence. Okay, so there won't be a great need for citation unless, of course, you're supporting your experience in life with things. You want to cite things that are relevant or pertinent to the situation that you've found presenting itself to you. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead, ask them. This is the time to get the clarification.
So regarding the fonts and style that you wanted, you said you wanted something that you could read. So like a lot of our papers require us type in like Times New Roman size 12 with like maybe like a 1.5 spacing or like double spacing or something like that. Would something like that be okay? Or
yep, as long as you use double spacing.
Okay, double spacing Times New Roman 12, or like, are we allowed to like change the fonts to something else?
Yeah, as long as it's readable.
Okay.
Right. When readable means, you stay away from the italics and stuff like that, or cursive type things. But I mean, I try not to kill you all by saying, okay, yes, do everything in time, because this is a piece of writing that I find can be a form of creativity on the part of students. So, and I don't want to necessarily stunt that particular aspect of who you are as a person, because I've seen people write up self-analysis like this and they've included a lot of photographs of themselves or of significant things, places, images that they find help tell the story of who they are and help tell the story of who they are as a person and how they became the person they are today. So I don't want to necessarily limit you. I want you to be able to, you know, write something that you feel is indicative of who you are, because it's, in essence, it's about you reflecting on you. More questions? No?
Hey, sir.
All right. Yes, go ahead.
If I were talking about Jesus.
Same thing.
Well,
If Jesus
right.
and religion has been a very significant part of your development in life, then I expect that you would be utilizing quotations from the Bible or passages that will help to support
Not
who
more
you
like
are.
testimonies.
Sorry?
Not all that, more like a testimony and how well, deliverance and these things are like that.
Well,
That's what I mean.
right, but it's like that, but I mean, it has to be relevant to the assignment that we have at hand. So you can't get carried away and go on a testimonial.
Well, obviously, sir. That yeah.
All right. But
Right.
but yes, some people in fact have highly religious backgrounds that have led them to be the person that they are today, or they have
Nothing to do with
found.
religion, sir.
Sorry.
Nothing to do with religion.
Well, it could be spirituality, but some people, as I said,
Factual, sir. Factual.
Okay. What do you mean? Clarify what you're talking about.
Like meeting Jesus himself, getting deliverance from him directly.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can write about those things.
Yeah.
Right. Good. Then fine. And if that is one of the things or the main thing that you found that has developed you as an individual at this point in time, that is fine. But I have to also be open to the fact that there are people who have different experiences and will write about things from a different perspective.
So no one has a problem with that.
No, nobody does. Cool. All right. Any other questions you want to get for clarification? No? All right. So another piece.
Wait, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Do we need like a title page? Like what should the title page look like? Does it just look like the regular like assessments or assignment
No,
page that we usually put on?
No, again, the title page just has to have the relevant information on it. The design of the title page is totally up to you.
Okay.
All right, so personalized, but it must at least have your name and your student ID number and the course code and CRN. That's about it.
Right.
Could we have a picture of our faces on it?
Of course, it's your book, you know. You could have well, with some degree of not to be facetious, okay, but just be careful of what you do.
No, I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean something respectful for yourself, because again, it's about you and yourself, and it's something between you and me. It's not to be shared with anybody else. So whatever you say or speak about about yourself and your life and your history is going to be held in confidential forums, because this is not for sharing with any and everybody. In fact, a lot of the writing that you're going to find and reflecting that you're going to be here, that you're going to be involved with, is going to be the type of reflection that if you take it on properly and you actually do it the way it ought to be done, you should be able to, let's see, we don't want to use. You should be able to help grow a little bit from doing this course. So this course is primarily one that is going to be looking at possibly changing some of your perception about things. And for that to happen, there has to be some sort of cognitive dissonance that takes place to allow for a change to take place, and then a realignment to be taking place as well. All right. So let's look at the next assignment here. So this assignment 5 for 15% question is designed into answering several questions here. Okay, there's a similar marking scheme. Each question has a thing, and it's expected that you'll be doing an overall introduction and conclusion. Once you've answered the questions, you go back and you write an introduction and conclusion. You all know about that, right? When you're writing a paper, the introduction is usually written, introductions and conclusions are written last. You kind of draft something out in your introduction, but then you come back and tighten them up when you finished your assignment. You're familiar with that, right? In terms of academic writing.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing that you're doing is, if you look at question 1, this is something that I asked you all already in the class. As you commence this course, reflect on what are your expectations of the course, your lecturer, and yourself. I really asked you about what you thought the course would be about. I didn't ask you to reflect on me, but and what you think you'd be doing, but some of you all kind of answered parts of these questions here. So one of the things I recommend for you guys to do is, after this class is finished, open a file on your PCs or on a book or whatever you do, and write out a response to this first question and put it away. Because at the end of the semester, you're going to have to write about it afterwards. So you've met me, you've started to look at the course. So I want you to do this reflection here about what you think the course is going to be about, what you think you want from me as a lecturer, and what do you expect of yourself in doing this course. Now that you have a little more. So this is one thing I would tell you, if you follow these instructions, this would tend to be a very rewarding experience. And then after you've finished, this is the last question you will answer, and you'll be answering this probably next year. When we finish the course, you'll reflect on, go back to what you wrote about it today in the future, and you'll go back and look at, well, have my expectations been met or not? And then you'd discuss in relation to how that has happened or what has happened, that kind of stuff. Now, the question 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 speak more about how you've changed during the course. So reflections on leadership and the leadership action plan and things you're going to be writing about after the fact. So you're going to have to wait for us to finish doing all the presentations and some of the exercises for you to actually start to really put some meat on this assignment. The only one is question 1 you can respond to now, but 2 to 7 you'll have to wait until we finish at least all of the presentations before you could start to look at trying to write up something for this, because then you'll be jumping the gun because you would not have done enough of the content to be able to respond to the different aspects of the questions that are coming down here. All right. But at least question 1, you could probably start this assignment up. Jot this down somewhere, write it, save it, something along the lines about how you feel about this course in terms of this question here. The marking system is the same as before. The introduction and the conclusion carry a particular mark. Each response to each question carries some particular marks. I'm going to be looking at your language usage. There's a grammar, punctuation, spelling, and the same thing with how you organize the document. The fonts to choose, the line spacing. I'm looking for double line spacing, the use of a title page, page numbers, page numbering or pagination, and content page if needed. Again, once you pass 4 pages, you need a contents page, all right? So this may not be as long as the previous assignment, so you may not necessarily need a content page, but you'd want to, again, I don't want to say you have to use particular types of fonts, but what I want to say to you, the fonts need to be at least readable. And of course, if you want to use images, pictures, and that kind of stuff, those things, you're free to do it. Because again, this is your document, is kind of a reflection of how you feel things should be. So far, so good. Any questions on this second assignment? This is 15% of your final presentation.
I have a question regarding use of pictures.
Yep.
So considering we have like during like a regular reference for like an academic paper, we have a reference section specifically for pictures that we get off of the internet. But if it's like a picture that we took or like drew or whatever, and we
It's
decide
yours.
to, then
It's
should we
yours.
just say
Give
that
it.
it's ours in the ref? How should we reference it?
Yeah. it's cited to you. And in fact, what is copyrighted to you because it's your creation.
Right.
All right. So you don't need to cite it because it's yours. You created. You cite something if you're using it for some purpose, but it's not yours. But this is yours, and you can actually copyright it to yourself. So if once I see a copyright notification on it, so let's say you took some photos of yourself and whatnot, and you decided to use those images, or as you said, drew a picture and included it in part of your journal, your reflections and whatnot. It's yours, copyrighted, it belongs to you.
Okay.
All right, that makes sense?
Yeah, so I don't necessarily need to include it in the reference page.
No, you would, because it's copyrighted according to you. You didn't borrow it from anybody. You created it on your own.
Right.
So if you created it, copyright it. So at the bottom of it or the side of it or something like that, just put copyright on your name.
Okay.
Have you ever seen photographers copyright pictures?
Yeah.
So somewhere on the photograph, you'd see an image or some sort of representation of copywriting on it with their name or their product logo or something like that.
Right.
It's the same thing. The same thing. Even some people even use watermarks and stuff like that as well. All right.
So we can watermark our pictures too if we want.
Yeah, it just destroys the overall impact of it, but you can also watermark like down to the bottom, the edges of it and that type of stuff, so you don't disturb the image, but you copyright the image, kind of thing like that. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions about these? Now you realize this is a lot of writing, so and as you're not writing about anything except yourself. Even assignment 3, there's going to be a limited amount of citation that will be necessary for this because it's going to focus a lot on you. That brings us to the last assignment that is listed as assignment 2, and that's debates. We are going to engage in a debating exercise in the class for at least 2 of these topics. Now, the date for that debate is carded for the 20th of December. The 20th of December is the last teaching week of the semester. Yes, exams, however, start on the 4th of January, the following year. Now, we don't have any exams for this class, okay? But I suspect that you might have exams for other classes. Yay or nay?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the 20th of December is really close to Christmas, but we will be having our debate on that day. And we will be doing the debate and well, there's details that we have to go through, but I'm going to leave that for later on. But in essence, there are going to be 2 sets of teams debating 2 topics. So one set of the teams will be debating leaders are born or not, or leaders are born not made. Men make better leaders than women, or transformational leaders are more effective than transactional leaders. So of the 3, we're going to debate any 2. That will be determined by you guys. So what you're not seeing here, if you look at this, is that this section here you will not see on your view. So if I go change my view to students view, this is kind of like what you would see. You won't see this section here because it's not available yet. But from my view, you could see what I'm talking about. So there are a couple of documents, but I don't want you all to get bothered too much by this because we will have time in this semester to actually start to do the arrangements and organizations for this, for the debating activity. Any questions on that?
So is it like a class-wide debate or like group-based?
It's going to be group-based because we have to do some group-based assessments and assignments.
All right.
All right. So, any questions so far? Everybody kind of follows what is going to be required for this semester and for this course?
Yeah, I kind of follow it.
All right. So, yeah. Anybody has any burning questions they want to ask about what's happening with this? Okay, so I've put the 17th of January as the absolutely last deadline for submission of any assignments. Now, you can submit at any time prior, but I am giving you all until the 17th of January 2023. I have to put grades in on the 29th of January or before the 29th of January. So I need some time to make sure the 17th of January represents the end of the examination period. So by the end of the examination period, I expect that you all should have submitted your work. So there, you have to make sure you submit your midterm exercise, your self-analysis, and your leadership and action plan. Your debate would have already gone off, and your presentation would have already gone off. So of the 100%, 30, 40, 45 marks should have already be in tentatively. Because by the end of December, you all would have, on December 20th, you all would have been finished with this debate exercise and marked it one time too. If you did your midterm from before, then that'll be out of the way. Now, these dates that I have here are to guide you to be able to get this work done without stressing yourself out too much, okay? But as I said, with the self-analysis, you can actually start writing some of the write-up for it. The leadership action plan, you have to wait, except that you should be able to answer the first question now, but you have to wait a little bit to be able to write up the rest of the answers, because you have to look at who you are at the beginning of the course and basically who you are at the end of the course. So you kind of have to wait until we go through the material for that before you can actually. Now, some of you all are probably looking at this course in horror because you're not seeing a lot of theory and all that kind of stuff, right? You're not seeing like a normal course outline where you'd see students will examine this theory and learn this and itemize that. You're seeing a lot about, well, who are you? Why are you who you are? Stuff like that, right? How many of you all are concerned about that? Speak now, you know. Why are you concerned? Your hand is up, so answer the question. Right? This is
I'm concerned because it's one of those questions that interviewers always ask and you never know how to answer properly or if you're answering properly.
Well, let me put it this way. There's only one answer that you can give. What answer is that, Krishma? Krishma? I'm saying that right? Yeah. Balchan? Oh, Bachan, sorry. What response can you give to questions of this nature? Well, there are two options really, but I mean, the one I'm hoping for
Say
is
truth. Is what is or what is not. So you can tell the truth
right.
or you can lie.
So you could, that's right. That's it. At the end of Jamal, that was an interesting way to put it. But yes, that's true. You either tell the truth or you tell a lie. And I would prefer that you speak to the truth because that is what we're here to do. This is not a course that is designed in a way, let's put it this way. This is unlike any other course you've ever done. And you might think I'm saying hogwash, but honestly, when you finish with this course, you would realize that this is going to be unlike anything you've ever done. First off, you all are going to be teaching the class. I'm not going to be doing the vast majority of the teaching in this class is going to be done by you. All the assignments are about you. It's not about the content, but it's about you in relation to the content and how you feel and what you think. So everything's going to be about you and examining how you feel. So it's going to kind of force you to have to look at yourself in a lot of depth. And you're going to have to reflect on things and make sure that you've learned something and that hopefully at the end of the day, next week when we start to look at the chapter 1, I'll bring up the course outline with it, and you'll begin to see the whole issue of how we're going to be dealing with this and what I'm talking about in terms of the amount of introspection and reflection that this course is going to be called upon. All right, so I know some of you all might be a little concerned, a little worried, but trust me, it's not going to be that bad. It might make you a little uncomfortable though, because some of us may have trouble dealing with self-reflection and stuff like that. So it's something that you want to pay attention to. I'm hoping that you all are okay with that. All right, so I don't think there's anything else that I need to present. You all okay? Any questions you all want to ask? Further clarification?
As of now, I think I'm good.
All right. So next week, what we'll do, we'll look at the course outline and chapter 1. That's actually handled in that. But what I'll ask you all to do is to visit the e-classroom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the this document that we have the new classroom. So I'll PDF it and put a new version on the e-classroom for you all to download the new schedule with names and everything in it. Okay, that sounds good. Yes, no, maybe, you're not sure.
Yes, sir.
I hear some hesitation. All right, so put this over here. Good. All right, so let me see that. I'll see that. All right. Okay, so let me stop the recording. I think we've really dealt with everything tonight. Are there any other questions that people want to ask before I turn off the recording though? I'm going to load these recordings onto the eClassroom so that for anybody who missed it, they can kind of review what took place. All right, I'm going to stop recording now.